Well, anyways, obviously Cody's not here this morning, filling in for him, so y'all bear with me. But he's such a good teacher that he just, all you gotta do is just, hand out the deals and let it flow. So, alright, we're gonna start off with Proverbs. We're gonna try to get through Proverbs 18:15 through 19:7. So, if somebody can start us off with Proverbs 18:15, and we'll get this started.
The heart of the prudent acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge.
Any thoughts on that? I read this and something came to my thoughts about people that you see them, the ones that are always talking, they don't know anything. But the ones that say a few things, it's always gold, whatever they say. And they're usually the ones listening, they're always learning. It's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like people that, people that have lots of money or lots of wealth, you don't know about it, because you wouldn't be able to tell. The ones that talk about how rich they are, don't have a dime in the bank, or are in debt thousands of dollars.
More humble area.
I think the second part, it's very important, because you want to listen. It's better to listen before you speak. That's my philosophy. I like to listen a lot before I say things, because you don't want to just, like you said, just talk and talk. If you listen first carefully and then make an assessment, then you can be wise about talking. And when you listen, you acquire knowledge, right? And you seek knowledge when you listen.
I've always heard we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So, need to take in a whole lot more than what you give out on knowledge. And matter of fact, kind of on a side note, last night, we had a TV on and we were watching,
Mountain
Men. And our kids were like, man, that's boring. Who wants to listen to all that? And it's pretty good insights on things. And they're big on to watching, we get on to them for watching YouTube, watching these little shorts, meaningless stuff. And I said, taking in knowledge, it's kind of like eating. You can eat a bunch of crap, and it's not going to get you anywhere. You can take in a bunch of crap, it's just going to clog your mind, because our brains aren't all that big anyway. So if you can, take in, like reading your Bible, take in stuff that's good and solid and good for you. Make you feel better anyway. 18:16. Somebody wanna take that one?
Says a man's gifts makes room for him and brings him before great men.
Spiritual gifts. This morning, I was listening in on a Bible study with Cody, and they were talking about spiritual gifts, and it's important, and I think the closer you get with the Lord, everything becomes more clear. Your spiritual gifts, you just have to sit still and listen. I mean, you know what you're good at. Some people are good at singing. I am not. Some people are good at speaking. I am not. So, but the Lord will help you out, and it's what you desire. I love to cook, as you can see. I love to cook, so, and I love fellowship, getting together and visiting with people and whatnot.
Pastor Lynn had a message some Sundays ago about the gifts and that God gives you, and how you can recognize what gifts you have. And he mentioned a list of gifts, right? And one of them, like the gift of discernment. And I said, yeah, I think I have that discernment. But there was many gifts that God gives you, and if you recognize those gifts, then you can share those. That was the message, right?
Yes.
You remember that?
And it's difficult with spiritual gifts because we live in such a fast-paced world, and sometimes it's hard to plug those spiritual gifts in, but sometimes you just gotta make time and do it, because the rewards, after you do after you perform your spiritual gifts, it is very rewarding. Just like giving or what have you, it's very rewarding. Cody might be upset because I'm not quoting some of McGee, but he has some good points in here. Moving on to 18:17. If somebody could take that one, we'll go with that.
The first one to plead his cause seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him.
Something that we discussed this morning also, talking about they used to cast, it might be in this, or I might be ahead of myself, but they used to cast lots to try to figure out who was in the right, who was in the wrong. There's always two sides to the story. You got one person and then the other person that's involved, and sometimes we are quick to jump to somebody's side, and don't really listen to the other one that was involved. I think I heard it said, there's my side, there's your side, and then there's the truth. So, and I think we've all been in that situation. And with the world as it is today, we fail at praying and asking God, or we might even ask God, but we don't want to listen to the truth. We want to hear what fits our agenda. And that does affect things of today's age. Anybody have any thoughts or?
I think it's just saying is, my Bible refers to the judges in Deuteronomy, saying that it's a warning to the judges to hear both sides of the case, but applicable to many situations. Like when I deal with workers all day long, and one guy will say, hey, this guy over here, didn't do this job right. I'm on the phone, I don't see nothing, I'm just hearing what he's saying. So I don't I used to just call a guy and be like, hey, why the heck did you do it like this? And 90% of the times, like, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. So I took the first person's before, I would listen to the first person, believe what he said, and then just go into attack mode, basically. And I've learned that over time that don't work. So, and it comes down to, giving them a call and getting both sides of the story, and then maybe even wait until you get there to see it with your own eyes. Because sometimes it's not that big of a deal.
And sometimes as time goes by, I experience this a lot at work because I'm writing cases on guys, and then it will go through all these different channels, and then about a month later they'll call me on the phone because they're running that case.
Yeah.
And they'll say, do you remember this happening? I'm like, well, since I've write about 5 or 6 cases a day, it's a little foggy. You might want to remind me of what's going on here. And well, usually, because, well, if you don't show up to school, I'm writing your case, I'm writing tickets. I mean, you know where my popo car is going to be, right there in education, and I'm gonna write you a ticket because I have to be accountable for your actions.
As long as
But-
the consistency is good, I mean, that's what I just know about that situation.
Because-
Consistency, they respect that a lot more.
Because-
You do that every day, and a year later you're still doing it, then that's good.
Because I'll be constantly writing cases, and guys will come up and they'll be like, "Oh, write another case." I said, "Yeah, you want one?" Like, no, or they'll say, "Hey, let him off this time." I said, "Well, do you want to take his crime for him?" No, it's good. So, but my point is, even still, you can sometimes things can be forgotten, but you still. The whole point is you need to be truthful, even if it might affect you, because your reputation, anybody's reputation, should be very important. And in this day and age, it's becoming not so much. That's why we have to have cameras. That's why we're fixing getting body cams. That's why all the police have body cams, because nobody. It's sad, but a man's word is no longer a man's word.
Do you teach young kids?
No, well, they're young.
Well, yeah, young and
Yeah.
mine.
Adults. I work at the prison,
Oh, okay.
so some of them are 18. They just turned. That's the sad thing. They turned 18 and never seen the light of day. I mean, they came up to the juvenile detention areas and came right into prison, and that's what I hate seeing,
Yeah.
because those guys are. It's like some of them don't have a chance.
So I think it has to start back when the person was a child.
Yeah.
So we have to focus more on educating young kids,
Oh, yeah.
young people, because if you say that they came through the correctional system and they're 18, then something happened, right? They weren't born bad. I don't think so. They were born good people. But something happened along the way. One of those things is they didn't get the education, either this way or any other way, to bring them up to where at 18 they should be
Right.
people that contribute to the society, not contribute to the jails.
That's why I have such a heart for CR that we do. There's one day I walked into a classroom and the teacher had stepped out, so I stepped in there, and they were discussing, and it was a class about cognitive, basically like we're doing right now, learning how to fit into society.
Yeah.
And one of these guys said, "Well, heck, I was 12 years old, my daddy was putting a needle in my arm."
Oh my God.
I mean, that gives you a different light on it. They're not,
Yeah.
the guys ain't monsters.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have some monsters in it, but they're not all monsters.
Yeah.
I know Brother Lynn always, this sticks with me. He said that Hitler said, you give me your children, and it's just a couple, give me at age 3, and I will raise them up how I want them, basically. And it's instilled in them when they're born. And it's a cycle that has to be broken, but it's evil world we live in. But anyways, got down that rabbit trail, but alright. And then, like I said, I got ahead of myself because 1818 is casting lots causes contentions to cease and keeps the mighty apart. But as I say, we have gone away from that. Proverbs 18:19. If somebody could read that, or
Says a brother.
Oh,
Go ahead, sir.
okay. Okay. A brother offended is harder to win than a strong city, and contentions are like the bars of a castle.
I'll tell you, family feuds are real, and they'll. I often wondered as a kid, because you'd see the Hatfields and McCoys, and you wonder, well, how the heck did somebody get so mad at each other and be like that? Well, I got to see it firsthand, and I mean, it goes generational to where I've seen that a family was so offended that their children couldn't stand the children of that family, couldn't stand to be around them. I mean, they had done nothing to them, but it was, when you offend somebody, especially when they're real close, because families, I've always heard, don't go into business with your best friend or your family. Don't loan money from them. And yeah, because everything is it's closer. It's more personal. When you tear away from that, you leave more of a wound than if it was just a salesman that you
Don't know, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, you go on, somebody do you wrong like that, couple of years you're back friends with them or acquaintance or whatever, but family, that's to death in a lot of cases. And it's sad that it's like that, but there's a reason why it's like that, because of the love and the closeness. And what's also to me, when you think about that, we should remember that when we're always going against God, because God's closer to us than anybody else. He created us. So just think of the pain you cause when you go against Him or you offend Him. And I'm so grateful that I've got a Savior, because if it's left up to me, I'd be already feeling Hades right now. So that's something that we all always need to remember. We hear it every Sunday, we hear it every Wednesday, but it is very important, and it's very important to be thankful for that daily.
I like that it differentiates forgiveness and reconciliation. You don't have to be best friends with them again, but you can forgive them.
Yeah.
That's an absolute must.
Yes.
You know, for you to have peace to move on. If not that, the whole time, stuff will drag you down forever.
Well,
You know,
because we gotta remember, if you don't forgive, then you're not gonna be forgiven.
And it doesn't hurt that person if you don't forgive them anyway, it only hurts you. There's 100% no way I will ever be around my biological father ever. Do I forgive him? Absolutely.
So that's a difference, I think. my son hasn't talked to me, right, for almost a year. And if I forgive him, does that mean I also have to talk to him and have a relationship with him? Or do you just say, okay, I forgive you, and then you're done?
You don't even have to tell them necessarily forgive them, like, the
So you have to
situation
have the
I'm in
heart.
with my father, I cannot speak to him ever, like, there's, and very good reason.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's harder
But
to,
I can forgive what he did.
Forgiveness is for you.
but
Yeah.
does he know that you forgive him?
No.
Do you want him to know that you
No.
forgive him?
I don't want him to know where I live, I don't want him to know about my life. He's a bad person,
apple for sure.
but
Yeah,
bad person.
so how is, who, does God see that you forget, that you forgave? Who else sees that?
Well, forgiveness is for you.
It's for you.
So
It's in your
that's
heart.
the biggest
Oh.
thing is that like once you forgive, like you can have peace at it. Like forgiveness is for your own.
So you're not
Oh,
harboring the
okay.
anger and
Sometimes
resentment,
forgive.
it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
You
destroying
can't
yourself.
control how
Yeah.
someone feels anyway. So even if you were to say like I forgive you, they could take it completely wrong. So then you're back in, that feeling of oh my gosh, he still didn't accept it, but no, it's for you. So that's why you don't have to just voice it to someone. I mean, it's nice to sometimes, but if it, in certain situations, it's not helpful.
Well, that's why
Well,
we
like
say-
mine, he'd take that
Yeah.
as a door back in.
Yeah,
That's why I
exactly.
say, you know, you gotta
Yeah.
be careful.
Yeah, definitely.
It says in Matthew 6:14-15, for if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you
Yes.
do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've also read, and I'm trying to find it, I'm paraphrasing, it might be off here, but it also says that if you do not forgive, for example, let's talk about married people. We've all done things to each other throughout our relationships that we can't take back. So if your wife can't forgive you for what you've done, then your sins, I might be wrong on this, but what I've read, if your wife can't forgive you, then you will not be forgiven for those sins. So it's I might be wrong on this again, I'll go back and check, but I'm pretty sure it's a two-way street. Like you need to forgive others, but they also need to forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because you forgive someone, so to be a complete forgiveness, the other party has to forgive you.
If they're both believers, not.
Yes,
what I'm
if
saying.
they're
There
both
we
believers.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
And that's where you have to use discernment, like you have to really be assessing the situation and understand, like, sometimes they're not on the same level as you are.
And they never.
And
They're
then-
not gonna understand
Yes.
things, they're not gonna, they don't live like we do, so they don't understand the way we
To
live.
give you an example, and Adam knows exactly where I'm going with this, but he used to work in ranching, and he used to work for his cousins, his family. Whenever he started dating me, they didn't like me, and we ended up married. He ended up leaving the cattle company. They do not speak to him to this day. They live in Wyndham, right down the road from us. They pass up and down the road by our house every day.
Well,
And he's forgiven them, but they're not believers.
Yeah, so you
So
can't
they-
hold
And
somebody to
they'll
the same
never,
standard.
they will never see that same way of thinking that he and I see.
And God's gonna understand that, cause he knows who's a believer and who's
If your
not.
heart is right.
So
and
if
you
your
do
heart
what's-
it's a hard issue.
Yeah, if your heart is right with it, God understands. And at that point, he's not gonna hold it against you.
No, y'all are on Zoom, I found the verse I was looking for, John 20:22, sorry to.
This is what it's about.
John 20:22 says,
I gotta go get some donuts.
Okay.
What time is it?
10:30.
10:30.
I gotta go for her.
Excuse me.
okay, so Jesus said to them again, peace to you, as the Father has sent me, I also send you, and when he said this, he breathed on them and said, go receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained. Meaning, if you hold on to unforgiveness, hold on to their sins are retained. Okay? So that's how I interpreted it, is if there's no reason not to forgive somebody, no matter how wrong I did. Even our worst enemies, God says to love them.
Yeah.
So if you can't forgive your absolute worst enemy, then forgiving anyone else is next to none.
Right.
If you can't do it for the worst of these, then you can't do it for the best of these. A sinner loves one who loves him, but he also hates ones who hate him. So we can't be like that. We can't have animosity and unforgiveness and say that we follow Christ, because Christ said, love the least of these, and throughout the Bible it says, even the sinners do this, even the demons do this, and shudder. So if they can do it, us saying that, oh yeah, I forgave him, but I just don't talk to him anymore, I don't think that's the calling. I don't think that that's the depth of which we need to forgive. We need to go as deep as we can in that.
I think Cody's preached too on before of like, where like when you forgive them and there's somebody who can't be around, or like you forgave them completely, but then you have to use your wisdom of like, okay, I can be nice to them in public, I can treat them with love and concern and care, but I don't have to hold them close in my corner. So you do have to hold a standard of a level of treating them with respect and as a Christ, like person.
That's
But
right.
at the same time, you don't pull them into your circle and you don't let your guard down and things like that, because you still have to hold yourself, to a safety level of that. But at the same time, like you're saying, you have to treat them with respect. and
I
like a
completely
Christian
agree with
person.
that. Even as a church body, we have to look inwardly at times where we don't allow toleration. Okay, we can't tolerate. So, if there was someone practicing sin within our service, and our children saw it, and it started to, like the yeast in the bread, started to spread throughout in conversation, like why are these people doing it like that? We can't be tolerable of not pointing out the truth in
Right.
that.
Yeah, cause
So-
it would be really hard, like say, I hate saying this, but like say you have a father or someone that was a sex offender, or somebody that really like hurt you or your children, you do have to still put that guard up. You have to have that guard
You
up,
have
but
to
you
protect
cannot
yourself.
treat them like they're scum. You have to still hold that respectful composure of treating them like a human, or like God would treat them, and hope and just pray for them over and over that maybe they can, also accept their sins and accept Christ and change as a person. But even if they do that, you still have to have that boundary up and continue to make sure that doesn't happen again. Like that's part of using your own judgment.
And remember, he gives you a way out.
He does.
He says that if they do not hear you and accept your words, to dust your sandals off and go leave.
That's like Adam, like, because his family lives down the road. We do see them at Walmart, we do see them in grocery stores, different places, and they will tuck tail and go the other way. And I mean, we'll say hi to them or whatever, and you very seldom get a hello back or anything, and you can see them squirming and
I see
wanting
that
to
every
get
day,
away.
where somebody forgives, but then they can't treat someone with, that level of Christ-like or respect, because they're so hurt. But then that's where you have to assess yourself, did I really forgive?
But don't let the devil's
Yes,
foothold come back
Because
and grab
then
back
you're
on you.
corrupting
Right.
yourself
And
in
that-
that.
That's where he's like, you know what, I'm done.
And that's a really hard thing to
and
do,
I-
because we're all
I'll continue
human.
to pray for them.
It's so hard
But-
to be Christ-like with that.
But that person,
I know you said
that's
it's
a
a
danger
two-way
that
street.
it
It
can
is.
turn and walk
Well,
away.
really, it's just a
He's-
one-way street,
he'll never
because if
be
you're both believers,
Yeah.
forgiveness is what you're supposed to do,
That's where
right?
you use
So-
discernment.
They just come.
You don't understand what you're asking.
Well, when you said it was a two-way street, like they gotta forgive you to be, and you forgive them. But
Yes.
if they're both believers, forgiveness is the path we're supposed
What
to be
I'm
going.
mainly saying is neither person should be holding on to the wrongdoing of the other. I mean, we've all been through it where we just let it eat us alive, like, bitterness. You're just sitting there like, I should have done this in that situation, and this wouldn't have happened, and you just hold on to it and you let it play through your mind
It's
over and
pride
over.
too.
It is pride
It's
too.
And
Pride,
somebody
ego.
challenged me once, they're like, okay, so how much have you prayed for that person? And then when I tried, it's like I didn't want to.
Oh, that's
Oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize it was that
You're like,
bad.
they're not deserving of that, and then it's
Yeah.
like, who are you to think they're not deserving, you know?
Yes, and the
You're
Lord
back and
softened
forth.
my heart, cause who am I to
Mhm.
question worthiness of forgiveness when I look at myself?
right. And
Right.
Jesus didn't go to the good. He went to the
Well,
Yes.
and I think one thing we're bad about doing as people is we make things confusing, make something very simple confusing.
Yeah.
My view on it as forgiveness goes, you're in charge or you have control over your forgiveness of everyone and everything. You don't have control over anybody else. God does. And God can soften people's hearts and he can harden people's hearts. He did that with Pharaoh. So, I mean, he created us. He
Is
can.
that also where trust comes from, like, too, with trusting God? Okay, because like, say
Right.
in those situations like your father, you have to also have like 100% trust and faith in God. That if you come into that situation, he's gonna shield you and your children. So like, you do have the right to turn,
Right.
and that's him shielding you, is using your wisdom to tell you to turn away and walk the other way and just turn the cheek. But you don't have to be like the ugly either and cause, conflict. But that's God giving you that trust, that I'm gonna take care of you no matter who's there. So
Right.
you do still have to give everything to God. That trust, the worry, the
Because
guilt of it.
and I'm guilty of this too, worrying. Speaking of worrying,
Yes.
sometimes you have to remember what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? I die
Right.
Amen.
and then I go to heaven to be with my Father. So sometimes we have to we're worrying, and I know that's easier said than done because I'm the biggest worry wart there is. You can ask my wife. I'll drive somebody nuts on the phone till I get something situated. And for needless, I mean it's silly what we worry about sometimes.
Yeah, we're on the fourth step right now with Rick on Mondays, and forgiveness was one of the hardest things to do in that step. I mean, the other ones I made amends with, and then I really wanted to move on to the next step, and just keep progressing. But it took me about 2-3 weeks and I thought I was done with the step, but then things kept popping up, and forgiveness is one of the hardest ones. And I talked on the phone the other day, I wrote something down. I was on the phone with my sister, and I had asked her something, and just got some closure on that. She was basically, just talking about how she was on drugs at the time, kind of blamed it on that. And that was kind of like one of the last things every day you think of new situations where you can forgive people, because some of it's buried so far back that you don't even really know that you still have those feelings, until a moment comes up, or maybe a TV show or something reminds you of something you need to forgive somebody. So I don't think the 4 steps are never really gonna be over like I thought it was gonna be, because more stuff comes up every day from the past or situations. But so I think 4 steps is pretty much the whole recovery. Because,
It's a big part.
I was trying to
On
move
it.
on, because I've just been having so much success right now in life, and I felt like I don't want to stay on this step
I
forever.
got hung up on the what ifs. Like, what if this would have happened and this wouldn't have happened? And then it's like, man, how much of this did I actually cause? Because what if I could have done this different or that different? And so then you get hung up on all these different steps, and you have to just keep reminding yourself, like, I'm changing myself now. Like, I'm doing it the right way now.
Well, and we have to remember everything we do has a ripple effect. And I mean, you can't change time. You can't go back and change things, and that's why another important reason why forgiveness is very important. And speaking about that on CR, it's very important. Forgiveness is a very important thing. I mean, it's our basics of our salvation. I mean, if we, like I said before, if we cannot forgive, how we expect God to forgive us?
It's not gonna happen.
Right. So, anyways, that is very big. Let's see here. Got about 5 minutes, I think. So I'm gonna try to squeeze in. Let's see
go to 22.
22.
Yeah.
Let's go to 22, cause my wife's not in here and I can, Well,
after
but-
Billy leaves.
flash. No. 1822, who wants to read that, and we'll cover that real quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord.
Every time I read this verse, it takes me straight to Proverbs 31. The wife is the crown of the man. Or I might be I'll quote it off, but it's saying basically that the wife is the helper of the man. The woman came from Adam to help him, to sustain him, to encourage him. And like I'm so blessed with my wife because the person I would have been if I hadn't married this woman, oh gosh, I'd be seeing you every day.
I would be the same way with, I'm very, very blessed to have the wife I have, because what I love about Lindsay is she's not afraid to tell me the truth,
Amen.
even though it hurts and even though I get mad at her, and later I'm like, oh wow, I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at myself.
Amen.
But I'm very, yes, that is so correct. I'll go to work and I'll hear horror stories of some relationships, and I come home and I say, thank you for being sane, because there are some crazy people out there. But yes, that is very important. And like I say, it's important to have, and we have to, as men, we have to remember that we're not over our wives either. We're one. And I think we tend to, our pride gets a hold of us, and we tend to go in there and think, no, we do, Lord, but we don't, because we are like Christ with the church. So I think that's something that we need to remember also as husbands, to don't get ahead of ourselves, because it will bite you. Well, I think that will bring this morning's lesson to a close. Thank y'all for bearing with me.